About that ban list. What's going on, everybody? It's Royja coming at you with a brand new video, and yes, finally, after one of the longest wait periods in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, we've finally gotten a ban list for technically October 2022, and this was very interesting to say the least. So I'm gonna be honest and say right out that I've already seen the list, obviously. I actually was on the way to the store in the car with friend of the channel, Chris. We were on our way to Walmart to go pick up some stuff, and then suddenly I get a notification on my phone from the ban list guy on Twitter saying that it was up, and we were like screaming like children in the car as I'm reading off the ban list while we're literally driving to fucking Walmart. So yeah, this isn't going to be a blind reaction or anything. I didn't have any of those. I didn't record it in the car or anything like that. This is mainly just going to be me discussing all of the different hits that were on the list, as well as what it can probably do for the metagame. So yeah, if you're looking for a reaction to see like a, oh my god, I can't believe they'd hit that, then that's not what's going to be here. I'm also going to be outright when I say that this ban list fucking sucks. I agree with most of the ban cards, but everything else was just completely underwhelming, and they just didn't do enough in my opinion, especially for how long of a wait we got. But I mean, anything to sell product, right? But let's go ahead and start the discussion. So, starting off, we have Fairy Tale Snow. So, I actually really like this hit. This is something that a lot of people have been asking for. Snow was kind of a mistake, in my opinion, to bring off the list in the first place. This card has always been stupid. But now, especially with different tier variants, especially the danger ones that can just keep pumping stuff into the grave, Snow is just an outright nutty card at points, especially not being a once per turn, not being even a once per chain. I think Snow has always been just this really obnoxious card that just should have stayed where it was on the list, and I'm glad to see it back, especially with tier being such a power force that it is right now. So after that, we have the Ronin Totem hit, which, honestly, so technically it is a good hit for Sprite, right? I mean, this kind of completely shuts off the Frog package, which I will explain later. Some people don't think it shuts off the Frog package. I'll explain. But I just think it was such a strong hit for a deck that wasn't even considered the top deck right now. Like, one of the things about this list is that there's a lot of stuff that's basically anti-Sprite, but there's very few that's actually anti-tier, which is arguably currently and will definitely be the much stronger deck here in the near future. And so for them to not only hit Sprite like this basically directly, while also just being such a strong hit in general, it's very disappointing for me, and it also just hurts any deck that's using the Frog engine, like, at all. Like, so we're gonna get into more stuff about why Mermail is basically dead now, which it was really sad because I was about to make a new deck profile on it. But yeah, this just like hurts any Frog deck, and it's just really, really sad, honestly. But what's even more sad to me is the banning of Crystron Halka Fibrack. So I am a Halk defender. I will stand up for Halk. I don't think it's that insane of a card. I think it is a very strong, like, starter card and enabler like Isolde is, but just like how Isolde was never the problem, I personally don't think Halk was ever that crazy of a card. I think just in combination with other cards, it just popped off way too much. And I know that does go for the whole, I mean, if we just ban Halk, we don't have to ban all these cards for it. But let's be real, stuff like Auroradon was just begging to be broken someday. I also just think it's really strange that Halk isn't seeing very much play right now. Like, this feels like a hit that they should have done when they limited it instead, or like during the beginning of summer instead. But like ever since Sprite and Tier came out, it's like the pile decks are just non-existent, and Halk is mostly there to either just climb into access code turn 2 or to just like enable some stuff turn 1 that isn't too crazy or toxic. I mean, I get it's something that people have said that kind of needed to happen eventually, so might as well hit it now, but it is very sad because so many different like lesser decks benefited from Halk in like not toxic ways. Again, Mermail utilized Halk really strong by summoning things like Fishborg Launcher, and now, you know, a lot of decks are just completely turned off without the access to Halk itself. So yeah, I'm definitely very disappointed in the Halk hit personally, but I know a lot of people are like jumping for joy. God, every ban list I think so far we've gotten a Link Monster ban. That's crazy. Look how thick this is. So onto a ban that I actually really like, Chaos Ruler Chaotic Magical Dragon. This card is absurdly strong. I'm surprised they even printed it to begin with, especially when they did. But yeah, this is something that I and a lot of others in the community have been asking for, so I'm very happy with the Chaos Ruler hit. This card just does not need to exist. And then finally, we have the banning of Red Reboot. So this is probably to promote like Labyrinth and stuff because they want people to buy a new product. But I also just think it's a good hit in general, so I actually don't have a problem with trap decks as a whole. I know a lot of people are like, oh man, I need Red Reboot, right? Otherwise we're gonna die to like silly floodgates. But you have to understand that Red Reboot is the definition of a turn-ending card. You use this against a trap deck, and it's the same situation as you needing to draw the out as them needing to draw like the judgment for the Red Reboot. Because if the Red Reboot goes through, all their interactions are gone. Like, they cannot use traps for that entire turn. It does not matter that they get another trap from deck or that it resets the trap. They cannot play, and most decks can OTK them. So I feel like it was a very unfair and very sacky card. I think it was just very gross. And while I'm not defending stupid, like, monkey flip floodgates, I just really think Red Reboot was a gross card overall. However, what Red Reboot going to 0 does prevent is outs to things like D-Barrier, which you may notice is not one of the cards on the ban list. I think they really dropped the ball with the bans. Like, this is quite a few bans, but they really dropped the ball with things like Mystic Mine is the big one. Everyone's asking, where the hell is Mystic Mine? It's such a gross card and has been seen play this entire year and seeing so much like top 32, 16, 8, 4, even top table success. Like, where is it? Why is it? I mean, even a limit would make it a little bit more bearable, but it'd make it more sacky, but it'd make it more bearable because once that one's gone, you don't have to worry about another one. But they just did not address it at all. Like, this list feels old in a sense, other than like the Ronin Totem hit. We also haven't seen any hits towards Anti-Spell, Dimensional Barrier, which is literally so strong against a deck like Sword Soul that I'm forced to run Crossout in my side now for D-Barrier. Scythe is still around, you know, all these like super obnoxious and gross power cards and Floodgates, Harpy's Featherstorm, you know, all of these things that shouldn't exist in the first place as lingering effects, they're still around, and I just don't know what Konami was smoking when they decided not to hit or even remotely slap any of them. But what's worse is that I'm going to skip down a little bit here in the limited. But what's worse, oh, Super Poly as well is another one. But the worst part is that they limited a pointer of the Red Lotus, aka the card that was being used to get rid of those gross cards from the opponent's hand. A pointer was used to get rid of things like Mystic Mine from the opponent's hand, but not only did they not hit those cards, they hit the card that was stopping it. Just like how they hit Red Reboot, which was something that was stopping Dimensional Barrier. Like, they're just stopping the ability to draw the out. Like, it's always, oh, just draw the out? Okay, we don't have an out anymore. I think it's just very, very poor, like, practice in Konami's taste. I think they're really just trying to push their product, but the thing is, with a format that's this bad and riddled with power cards, you have a lot of people not wanting to play. I know a lot of people, especially over on Yugi Twitter, have switched over to completely different card games like Pokemon or Magic, or even some people are on, I think, Digimon, because they just can't stand the current format. Like, even with these hits, well, some of them, like I said, the bans, for the most part, are great, but even without some of those hits, it's like the game is just in such a gross like state right now with all of these power cards, and they just chose not to hit a single one, which I think was completely absurd. But for the limited stuff, Steam the Cloak is actually something I did not expect from them, even with a Halka ban. Steam the Cloak is like, I think 3 or 4 bodies technically on its own, and yeah, while it's harder to access without Halk, there is stuff like Wise Strix, I believe. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't think Wise Strix can summon it. Yeah, okay, Wise Strix cannot summon it, but I think there are some ways to get to it other than Halk. I feel like it's a very, like, strange card. I don't know, it just does a lot. But I guess it is also there to promote the new Blackwing stuff coming out in Darkwing Blast. This is going to be really nice for Blackwing, by the way. Like, Blackwing's already doing pretty decent with the new support, but this is going to be really nice for it. Cyberjar, who cares? What did you expect me to say? Anything like, oh my god, Ghost Rick Tier 0? Like, no one cares about Cyberjar. It's like, oh, you want a Mystic Mine ban? Nah, here's a flip monster that's severely outdated. O-Line's a given. I'm surprised they brought back Jet Synchron before they brought back O-Line, because this is arguably the worst card, and arguably the one that was more tied along with the Auroradon package. Substitute was definitely a surprise at first, until I realized that you can't FTK without the Ronin Totem. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, so we lost Ronin, but Sprite can just use Substitute, right? So not only would you have to get the Substitute in hand, given that it's a level 1, or summon it off of 1-for-1 before using starter or gigantic, but you also have to tribute at least bare minimum itself and another monster just to get like 2 swaps out, just so you can go into your Toad. But at that point, why? Like, why would you do that? Like, instead of just playing, like, Tri-Brigade Sprite or something. Also, it just kind of feels more like a Band-Aid than anything for, like, the decks that actually utilize the Ronin Toad and, like, you know, fucking Paleo Frog. They're just like, oh, yeah, so we know we just hit, like, your best extender, so here's Substitoad, I guess. Watch, they're gonna rub more salt into the wound by eroting Substitoad just to be petty. That's gonna be gross. Yeah, with no, like, consistent way, at least that I know of, to get the Substitoad on board, I just really don't think it's going to be doing anything, especially for Sprite. Spellbook of Judgment was something that I was half surprised about, but also half not surprised because they brought it back in Master Duel as well, which I know, completely different formats, of course, but it is definitely something that they've been looking at. I really don't know about this card too much. Like, I feel like the amount of advantage that it can get is pretty high. Like, there are people that are just like, oh, you know, who's gonna run the Spellbook spells in 2022, but you'd be surprised. And then finally, again, the Appointer was just such a weird hit for me when they're just not hitting the cards that it was meant to out in the first place, like Mystic Mine. Like, it just felt really gross, especially because Appointer isn't even... I'm gonna argue Appointer isn't that strong of a card. I mean, the best thing it does is give you, like, information as opposed to the actual hand rip itself. But, like, the fact that you have to pay 2k for it, which, I mean, is very relevant in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Due to the time rules and stuff, especially in the games 2 and 3 that you're actually going to be seeing it. I think the only problem was it on top of an established end board, as well as, like, multiple copies of it, because I don't believe it is a once per turn. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think Appointer was that big of a problem card, and it was only seeing play in, like, a few extra or side decks. I mean, obviously it was seeing a good amount of play, but it wasn't. It was probably like maybe half of the side decks right now. So that was just really disappointing to see. I'm surprised that nothing got put to semi-limit, and I'm even more surprised that Tenki didn't get put to 3. I feel like maybe they knew that people would be going on to Tri-Brigade stuff once they hit Ronin Toad, and so they did this as like a precaution almost. But I don't think an extra copy of a hard once per turn card is that crazy. But I don't know, maybe it's just the inner beast player talking to me. Other than that, the unlimits are, you know, pretty fine. Dynamite Knight to 3, Ben 10 to 3. I'm surprised they brought to 3 before Tenki. Shooting Riser to 3, no one cares. Without Halka, no one plays it. Fusion Destiny to 3, I was kind of surprised about, kind of not. There are ways to search Fusion Destiny, so it's actually not as inconsistent as you may think. Like, DPE is still a really strong card. Nadir Servant, I'm actually really happy about because I just picked up my 3rd Nadir 3 days ago, this last Friday, and it was like $5, so now it's probably going to go up even more. I'm glad I picked it up when I did. I even said, it's going to come to 3 soon, Copium, so that was really funny. Light Stage, I mean, whatever, it's Light Stage, Trickstar, Sprite, whatever. And then Wall of Revealing Light, who cares? Yeah, so my overall thoughts on the ban list are, other than Halk, I think all of the bans, and Ronin Toad's a bit iffy for me too, because I just think it was a bit much, especially for Sprite, like, considering they're not hitting tier as much as they're hitting Sprite right now, which it should be the other way around, but I think overall, other than the Halk and that, I'm pretty content with the bans. I like the Chaos Ruler ban, I love the Snow ban, and then the Red Reboot ban, I always thought that card shouldn't have existed in the first place. But everything else just feels really weird. Like, I feel like most of these were just completely unnecessary, or just, like, cards that should have came back a long time ago, right? Like Cyberjar, no one cares. O-Line should have came back. You know, stuff like that. Yeah, overall, I just think for as long of a wait as they made us do, like, this was months and months ago. Like, it was like 5 months ago that we got our last list. I think they could have just done more, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I think a lot of people agree with me in that sense, that they could have just done a lot more for the game with this list. But I mean, especially considering that Ronin is gone and the most common build of Sprite is gone and less people are going to be playing it, I am very excited to announce a Tier 0 tier limit format until Shatralaw comes out in, what, February? Oh, dear God. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Forbidden and Limited list for September/October 2022. I hope you all did enjoy. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts, or maybe some stuff that, like, maybe with Substitoad especially, it's like, what's gonna really come up with this? Like, what can people think up? I think that'd be really interesting to hear. But for now, that's gonna do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like, as I'll put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you like this content, you want to see more like it, like the rest of my ban list discussions, I guess, I only have a handful, then perhaps consider subscribing, because we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, and we're getting very, very close. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.